What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the March 16, 2024 edition of the SmackDown LowDown. Megan Morant, Scott Stanford in the studio recapping what I thought was a pretty good edition of SmackDown on Friday night. My full audio review already available here on the channel. Check it out from earlier today. They opened up the episode replaying the Rock concert from the start of the show. They don't really spend a lot of time talking about this, reviewing it. Not that there's really anything to analyze, but kind of shows you that the Rock stuff this week with Roman and Cody and Rollins wasn't really the focal point of the show. It was the best part of the show. It wasn't the focal point, which I enjoyed and appreciated. They run down the other bigger headlines from the show, including replaying the LA Knight AJ Styles segment, hyping up LA Knight versus AJ Styles for WrestleMania 40. They also replay the final few moments of Randy Orton versus Grayson Waller and the United States Championship match between Logan Paul, Orton, and Kevin Owens being made official for Mania by Nick Aldis. So they hype up that matchup. They also hype up the tag team title match for WrestleMania, the Judgment Day defending the undisputed WWE tag team titles in a six-pack challenge ladder match with 6 teams. That sounds like an absolute clusterfuck, but it should be fun. I have no doubt it'll be a fun match. They replay LWO losing to Legado in the first of a bracket qualifier tournament match. It really wasn't a qualifier. It's part of a mini tournament they're doing on the SmackDown side. Only 2 teams can get in on the SmackDown side, 3 teams from the Raw side. So Legado advanced. They also replay New Catch Republic beating Pretty Deadly to advance as well. We hear from Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne backstage with Byron Saxton. Tyler Bate says they're one step closer to WrestleMania and achieving their dream. Pete Dunne says they'll smash Legado in 2 weeks, so that was the first time it was mentioned, although I just kind of assumed, it was automatically assumed, that the next match between those 2 teams will take place in 2 weeks and not next week. Next week is the other 2 qualifiers on the other side of the SmackDown Tag Team Tournament. So they talk about smashing Legado. And he also says they will not celebrate until they win the tag team titles at WrestleMania. So in the studio, they hype up next week's tag team qualifiers. The OC taking on Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, and the Street Profits battling AOP. We hear from Austin Theory and Grayson Waller backstage. They tell Byron Saxton that they're sick of this. Theory says they're sick of losing and just being asked stupid questions by Byron and people like that, Caleb Braxton. Grayson Waller says that they deserve to be in the ring with the best. They've proven that for the past 8 months. And they need to start focusing on themselves and not Logan Paul or anyone else. So back in the studio, they preview the qualifiers for next week, and Scott Stanford praises the OC and their experience. Listen, they have done a lot in a lot of different promotions. I couldn't give 2 fucks about the OC at this point. I think that'll mark their first match on SmackDown in a very long time. They should definitely have Theory and Waller advance. If not win that entire side of the bracket, they should at least advance past the OC. If they can't, that's ridiculous. Keep the OC in NXT for a little while longer, in my opinion. They replay the Escobar win over Dragon Lee on SmackDown. They preview Santos Escobar taking on Rey Mysterio one-on-one next week on SmackDown, not at Mania, which tells me they're probably doing a multi-man match, which I fucking do not like. I mean, that sounds like it'll be a fun match. The match makes sense. But I would much prefer Santos and Rey one-on-one than some 6 or 8 man or person tag team match with the rest of the 2 factions. Save that for a SmackDown or another pay-per-view. Just do Escobar and Rey one-on-one, which they probably won't at this point, but we'll find out next week. They replay the Bayley versus Dakota Kai main event. Good stuff there. Dakota Kai getting herself DQ'd following Io Sky interference. Naomi making the save. Bayley also being laid out by Damage Control. Naomi being laid out, blah, blah, blah. We hear from Dakota Kai and Io Sky backstage, not the Kabuki Warriors, which was interesting. They hyped up Damage Control, but only them 2 appeared, which is interesting, like I said, because I think Asuka appeared to be injured by the end of the show. Hopefully it's nothing too serious and it wasn't legit. It probably was legit, but hopefully it's nothing too serious that could take her out of a potential match at WrestleMania. But the fact they weren't shown here is interesting, so hopefully whatever she suffered on SmackDown was nothing too serious. But Dakota Kai basically says that I was not beaten by Bayley on SmackDown. She interrupts Byron and says, I was not beaten, at least by pinfall or submission. She did lose by DQ, but whatever. And she just says that Bayley will not interrupt their plans. Damage Control still dominating SmackDown. And Naomi found out what happens when you mess with Damage Control. Io Sky just speaks some Japanese to Bayley and then says, I challenge Naomi to a match next week. So some breaking news here. We are getting Io Sky versus Naomi for the first time ever one-on-one next week on SmackDown. They preview Io Sky and Bayley for WrestleMania and talk about Bayley needing backup, etc., etc. That was the show in a nutshell. Pretty solid stuff here. The analysis was almost non-existent on the show, but we did hear from Theory and Waller, Damage Control. We heard from, what was the other team? Oh, New Catch Republic, Dunn and Tyler Bate. So we heard from a lot of different teams on the show. I thought it was a solid edition of SmackDown LowDown. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Till next time, guys, have an awesome one. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.